Okay, in this tutorial, we are gonna see how to import a text file of data to Matlab using some manual commands. There is more automatic ways to do it, but this time we are gonna see how to do it more manually. So first, here is Matlab open. I just created a folder of my class here, and I'm gonna open where my data is located, which basically it should be in my flash drive. So let me just find it in all of my files here. So this is the file that I want to process. So I'm gonna Control-C, copy, and I'm just gonna place it in the Matlab folder here, paste. So basically the text file now it's in the Matlab folder here. So I can explore it first outside. So if I right click and click in the file and right click and open outside my lab, basically it's open the text file to see some general information. So this file was created using some LabView cards and datalogger by LabView. And basically we save 3 channels of temperature, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3. Here is the different data. We have 458 data points and the time that we save it. And the data was scanned every second. So every single row corresponds to every second of data. So basically that's the general information of data. So what we're gonna do is import it manually to Matlab. So I'm gonna do right click and import data. So basically when I click import data, it's gonna show display the data, but in a Matlab app. And basically you see the same data that we saw in the text file, but in this case is using this tool for importing. Basically, you can select any data and you can select in different outputs. So in this case, it's automatically check table because we have different kind of data. So for example, if I import right now, in the workspace, it's already create a word example, a group example with all of the data. So we have the different channels there, and it also plays some titles. So this is a kind of data in Matlab called table. You can work with tables, but I prefer, honestly, to use numerical metrics because basically we are going to manipulate some numerical data. But in this case, we need to be, we need to be careful what we select because when we select the numerical data, the second row, as you see, is in yellow, and it's because it's not possible to identify. It's not a numerical data. Basically, it's a time. So we don't want to import that. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select the 3 last columns and all of the rows. Okay, so that's numerical data, and I also can change the name. So here I'm going to place, for example, data lab. Enter, and I'm going to now import. So now my data is in my workspace. So if I double click, I just have the 3 data points, the 3 columns of data points. Column 1, column 2, column 3 could represent the temperatures for the different channels that we save with the model. Now, we need also a time space because in this case, we just have data and we have a time space. So there is different ways to create time space. I like to just create an independent file. For example, I'm going to create a time, and this time is going to have, if you see here carefully, we have 458 data points as we checked before. So I can create a vector of these values. So I'm going from 0 to 457, 1 less, and semicolon. And the column here is basically representing a vector from 0 to 478, 57, sorry. And I'm going to put in parentheses, I'm going to use the apostrophe, which basically creates a column vector instead of a row vector. Okay. So when I click enter, it creates another time. Basically, this is the time that goes from 0 to this value, which is the same number of rows of my values. Now, if you see, basically, our scan was every second. So every row represents 1 second. So in this case, we are done. This is the time vector. But in case, for example, if we decide that, the scan was every, for example, half second, so we need to do this multiply by 0.5. And basically what it does is create a time vector every 5.5 seconds. See? But in our case, our record was every second. So I just leave it like this, multiply by 1, right? And basically goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So basically that's the time scale. Now we are ready to plot some data. So basically we have time, we have some temperature data. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a figure, right? And I'm going to plot time, which is the X, comma, and the Y axis, in this case, is going to be data, lab. And in parentheses, I'm going to select which value I have. So basically I want all of the rows of column 1. So for mentioning all of the rows is column, comma, column 1. Close the parentheses and enter. So basically it creates in the plot the data. Basically we have a missed error here, probably the thermocouple failed at this point. So we have this problem. Now we can plot the other data points. For example, I can select the second row and basically also plot the second row. But in the same plot, I want to create the 3 plots. So I need to use the hold on function. So basically first, let's plot the first data point. After that, I'm gonna choose hold on, we basically hold that data. And now I can plot the second data point. So basically in the same plot is creating the second set. And also I can create a third plot here. So we have third data point. So, this is the data well displayed. I also can edit a little bit. So I can go view, property editor, and also go view flow browser. So basically we have the three curves here. I can just deactivate one. I noticed that there is an error here. So I can select the right range of the y-axis. For example, I can click in the y-axis here and I can say, okay, maximum 600 from 0 to 600. So basically showing me more in detail that. And I also can select the y-axis and I can put temperature here, like the name in Celsius. And in the x-axis, I have time scale and seconds, for example. So it's well displayed. And also I can put some legends. So for example, this will be curve 1, Control C, select the second curve 2, and curve 3. And now I can just show the legend and I display legend. And also, I can go fonts and change if I like a different font and bigger numbers, change the color, and I play some Y and X secondary axis. So I can do a lot of editing, but it's a nice display curve that it can be nice for a technical report. So that's the way that you import manually data from Matlab. There is another automatic ways, and you can create a script or a function. If you have some knowledge about how to create function in Matlab, you can create a function and automatically import the data. But in this case, we are doing that everything. So that's basically the simple tutorial for this part.